The sisters had been trapped in the pool for 8 hours. It turns out that 8 hours ago, the manager mistakenly thought no one was inside and closed the pool cover. Lisa and Annie suddenly realized something was wrong. They swam desperately towards the surface, but it seemed too late. They started shouting for help, but the manager was already on his way home and wouldn't return for 3 days. Without any rescue, they would be trapped in the water for at least 3 days. Annie's despair erupted instantly. She felt they were doomed, but Lisa refused to give up. Lisa encouraged Annie, saying they could save themselves. They swam to the diving area and tried with all their might to push open the heavy cover, but the water's resistance was like an invisible cage, shattering their hope. They split up and searched along the pool's edge for an escape route. Unexpectedly, Annie discovered a tiny hole, but the narrow space couldn't even fit her finger through. She tried to pry open the obstruction, but exhaustion and hopelessness made each attempt seem feeble. Meanwhile, Lisa found a plastic board underwater and hoped to cut through the cover, but Annie mocked her mercilessly. Without sympathy, this is completely useless. Being in a desperate situation made Annie's mental state increasingly unstable. She started blaming Lisa, saying she was only trapped here because she was helping her retrieve her engagement ring. The sisters' argument echoed in the water. Just as Annie noticed Lisa's expression growing more pain, she finally changed her attitude. Lisa confessed to Annie that she had been diagnosed with diabetes 2 years ago. If she didn't inject insulin quickly, her consciousness would soon become blurred. Upon hearing this, panic surged in Annie's heart. Just then, a noise suddenly came from inside the pool area. Helen, the cleaner, walked in. The sisters desperately slapped the cover and cried for help. Helen calmly promised to rescue them. However, she suddenly rummaged through their bags, her eyes shifting to the surveillance cameras. Then she turned off all the cameras. She said, "I'll let you out if you tell me your bank card PIN." Annie's anger instantly exploded as she cursed at Helen. However, this anger only infuriated Helen. She pressed the switch for the temperature control system, and the water in the pool suddenly turned bone-chillingly cold. The sisters were forced to huddle, shivering all over, and eventually had no choice but to compromise and reveal the PIN. Although Helen promised to withdraw the money and come back to rescue them, an hour passed with no sign of her. By this point, Lisa was barely holding on. However, Helen had long since returned but refused to save them, because Helen discovered there was only $1 in the bank account and mocked their ugliness and poverty. Helen's words completely ignited Annie's fury. She was determined to make Helen pay for this. Stay tuned for the next part.